Munir Ajam with Uruk Project Management. In this presentation, we have two objectives. One is to discuss the critical concept that is very important to us and for the Uruk platform, which is the tailored methods. But we'll also discuss basically our process of how do we select tailored method in the Uruk platform. So it's kind of a blend between education and a bit of a tutorial, although using slide presentation rather than the platform itself. We will have screenshot about the platform, so you will be able to see how it looks like. So what we're going to focus today in this, in here again, the primary focus is the tailored method selection process in the Uruk platform. I must start with an introduction and provide some context. I've already highlighted that the context of this presentation is the Uruk platform, which is a versatile, comprehensive project management solution that we are developing, and we already have an early adopter version in the market today. The vision for the Uruk platform is to create a suite of applications for managing project, program, and portfolio. That's the long-term vision, which is obviously we are at the starting point. Where we are focusing right now is managing projects. So the long-term vision is a suite of application for project, program, and portfolios, whereas where we are today is the main focus is on managing project. When we talk about managing project in the Uruk platform, for us, a core feature is the customization feature, which lead to fit-for-purpose tailored methods. You're going to hear that term quite often, obviously, since this presentation is focused on this concept. Today, and what I mean by today is as of now, a client can select one of numerous tailored methods that we have built into the platform using the TMS process that we'll be discussing in the next few slides. Soon, potentially before the end of summer, a client would be able to tailor their unique method. So they have a choice of using the built-in tailored method that we have provided if they have no process on their own, or obviously if they have some kind of a process or they have a good understanding of what needs to be done, they can develop their own tailored method using the platform and to allow them to have a very tailored, fit-for-purpose solution for their different types of projects that they could have. Okay, what is the tailored method selection? Obviously, as we mentioned, and we probably talk about this in many events and webinars that we host, is that the whole idea about project management, there are a lot of things that are common concepts across all domain and sectors, such as, for example, the idea of processes. However, there are situations that are highly unique, or they are mostly customizable or tailorable dependent on a certain project type and class. So using that mindset, which is a core principle for us as we design and develop the Uruk platform, is that the idea that project management must be fit for purpose, must fit the context of the type of the project and the class of the project, among other variables. So what we've designed, we start with the standard methods based on our CAMP methodological process that we developed years ago. And then we have to provide some tailoring. So how does tailoring work in the Uruk platform? We have the process the way it's been updated as of today, and this continues to evolve as we continue to develop the platform. We have 7 key questions, right? So question 1 is the sector, and I will go through each step. Question 1 will be sector. Let's select a sector, right? And then domain, which is a subset of the sector, category, which is a subset of the domain. So basically with these 3 questions, what you have is that we define the project type. So they are very question 1, 2, and 3. They are highly integrated and interdependent, because with these kind of things we will be able to select a very specific type of project that we need to have the tailored method for that. So you can have 3 levels of tailoring at that level. And in the original version of CAMP, that's what we call the customization, because CAMP stands for the customizable and adaptable methodology for managing projects. So this is part of the customization process. Then once we define the project type, we have the project class, which is a function of size and complexity. Question 5, we decide on what development approach you want to use. In here, I'm saying traditional or agile. We usually like to use the term big bang or iterative incremental, and then decide on implementation and operation. Again, I will come back to each one of these steps next. So the first step is for us when you go to the platform, and you can start from the screen, from this slide onward, you start to see the screenshots. The first step is for us to select the sector. Now, there are numerous sectors today. If we talk about, I mean, obviously we have aviation, we have pharmaceutical, we have medical, we have hospitality. However, at this time, we are still starting. We don't have tailored method for all of these different sectors. So what we are doing right now is we are focusing on 2 sectors, which we think they are the most the sectors that have more interest in project management maybe than other sector. Again, that may be a mistake, or maybe this is not a true idea. But what we believe right now is that the 2 sectors that use project management the most is the capital intensive project, basically facilities project, and technology. So we are developing a tailored method for these at this stage. And then we have basically what we call the general project right now, because we have not developed all the different tailored method for all different sectors. So we have what we call a catch-all, basically a general project categorization that is generic, that obviously if you come from organization that outside the 2 sectors that we mentioned, you can still use Uruk, but it will not be highly tailored to you already. It could be tailored, but it's not yet. So the first step is to select the sector. Then within the sector, you have different, as we mentioned, we have the capital intensive, we have technology, and we have general. By clicking on any of these buttons, it will expose to you question 2, which is a domain that are related. So as you notice here, we've selected the capital intensive, and today what we have under that sector is 3 domain. Maybe 2 was generic: oil and gas, real estate development, and a generic catch-all. Obviously, if you work on a capital intensive, remember that means producing some kind of a facility. There are other things that we have not considered yet. What we have here right now, it's obviously in the early stages. And so it's the idea is what we have today is probably a minute fraction of what it would be once we start to add many tailored method for different clients, or clients they add their own tailored method. Step 3 is which is selecting a category. So basically, let me take one step back. Actually, I can't. But if we think about taking basically what I said, for example, capital project, oil and gas, right? So sector is capital intensive project. Domain is oil and gas. The category right now we have not designed any tailored method at that 3rd level, right? And in oil and gas, for example, we could have refineries, we can have petrochemical plants, we can have pipeline, we can have offshore production facilities, we can have onshore production facility. There are numerous type of categories of oil and gas project. Some of them could be greenfield, which mean brand new facilities. Some of them could be brownfield or modification to existing facilities. So technically, even within that oil and gas domain, right, which is part of the CIP, the capital intensive project sector, we could have numerous types of project, which would be developed in the future over time as more client needs more specialization. So step 3, as we mentioned today, is we don't have anything at step 3. Step 4, once you decide on a type of project, for example, we decided on capital intensive, we decided on oil and gas, then the 3rd category could be, or the 4th step here, is selecting a project class. And at this stage, we have 5 different classification: micro project, a small simple project, medium moderate project, and large and complex project. And we have something like small, medium, large, which is again like a generic. If you're not sure which one of the first four classification to use, you can use the fifth one, and then you can you can adjust as you start managing project. As you select any of these, you will have a description on the side that tell you what this is. It's very important here to highlight that these are generic classes that we have defined years ago when we are building the CAMP methodological process, and we publish about it, and we explain these things in our publication. However, the idea that this is a small project in oil and gas is different than a small project in technology, right? So basically, the idea of classification of project using size and complexity is a function of the industry in the organization. So again, in some organization, $5 million could be considered a small project, whereas another type of project and organization, 5 million, could be a huge project, right? So what we have to do ideally is work with our client to define their own classification system. I mean, we're using 4 here or 5. In the future, we can add mega project. You could choose to have maybe 1 classification or 2 or 3, up to you. That will become highly dependent on the client work and the type of work they do. Then step 5. Okay, now we have selected the class. So let's say small, simple, medium, moderate complexity, or large and complex, whatever the case might be. The next question will be, okay, what kind of development approach you want to use to develop the product? Because remember, every project produces a product, right? The product could be a software solution, it could be a house, it could be a study, it could be anything, whatever the product of the project. So the question here, based on that product, we have to decide how are we going to develop that product, build it, whatever the case might be. And here we have 2 development approaches. Either we use traditional, what people call traditional today, or they also call waterfall. We hate that waterfall term, so let's not go into it today. Let's say traditional, sequential type of project management. What we like to call that is big bang development. And the idea here is because the product of the project will be delivered in one piece at the end. So big bang. Whereas if the product can be developed in pieces, in increment or iteration, then we can use the iterative or incremental product. So step number 5, we need to decide which approach. Now, how do we decide? Again, the thinking here, what we advise is begin with the end in mind. Think about your product. What does the project produce at the end when it's delivered? If that product can be delivered in pieces, then we obviously have iterative or incremental development, and it could be a blend of the 2. Or it has to be delivered in one piece at the end, then it has to be a big bang. So the decision to go beyond the argument and debate that we have often online between waterfall or agile, which is better, because neither of them is a project management methodology. And what best approach to use is a function of the product of the project. So it's highly customized. Now, there are situations where you are actually using all 3 in the same project. And some people call that hybrid. That's fine. That could be a hybrid methodology we can use. For example, in the Uruk platform, when we did the original proof of concept MVP, we used a big bang approach because obviously as the team is developing, we could not release anything to the market. They were releasing it. The development team was releasing this to us. We can test it, we can review it, but we were not able to generate revenue from it. We were not able to sell it. It's not something we can put in the market for use. It's not fully functional until the whole concept was developed. After that was done, we have been using iterative and incremental development. So sometimes we have iteration to enhance what we've done before, and sometimes we have increment to add functionalities. And that's ongoing. It has been ongoing for a while, and almost every week or 2, we add either we do a release, an update of enhancement behind the scene. Most our users will not notice that, or we will be adding incremental additional functionality. So now let's say we decided that is this type of project, maybe we are building a hospital, it's going to be a big bang development because we need to develop the hospital at the end to deliver to the client. Otherwise, the client cannot use the hospital until everything is finished, right? It could have many components, many sub-projects in it, but at the end of the day, the client cannot reach beneficial value. They cannot start to operate the hospital until it's fully completed. So it's a big bang. And here's then the question will become, okay, for the implementation stage, remember we have the methodology have many stages, but in the implementation part, would we have one stage, two stages, or three stages? We provide that functionality because sometime, some organization might like to treat the implementation or execution work as one contract, and they consider that as one piece. So they might you'd like to use maybe one stage implementation, or they might like to split the work between design and build, or preliminary and whatever the case might be. So we might need two stages, or it could be three stages. So what we are providing functionality right now is if you choose BBD, then you have another choice to make, which is decide how many stages in implementation you would want to have, one, two, or three. Right? And of course, if you change your mind later on as you start working on the project, you can modify that decision. Which remind me, what I didn't say is in the platform, we decide. When do we decide? So allow me to sidetrack for a second from the screen. When do we decide what to use? When in the Uruk platform, the steps we follow is that first, a user need to go into the system and create a project. So they just put a project in the system, and basically we have existing forms. They fill that form and they submit it. And that project goes into what we call the parking lot. Now, once it is in the parking lot, it stays there until a senior manager, a sponsor, will go in and activate that project. Right? So we have not worked on the project yet. The only thing we've done is we entered into the system and the sponsor activated. Once the sponsor activated, the sponsor must assign someone with the position of having the project manager to start managing the project from the beginning. Now, of course, during the life of the project, the sponsor could change, the project manager could change, and many team members could change. But at least at the beginning, the sponsor will activate the project by naming a PM and saying activate. In that case, the project will come back to the PM, the designated project manager, and the project manager will be prompted to select the tailored method. So this whole tailored method selection process is happening at the very, very beginning of the project. However, before you start working on the project, before you start to go into the concept, and let's say you enter this and you decide to change the methodology or the tailored method, you can still do so. However, when it comes to this piece, step number 6, that obviously is decided at the beginning as well. And later on during the strategy stage, when you're developing the project management plan, you have the chance to adjust that. Now, notice this is for BBD only. For IID, iterative incremental, there is no choice. There is one implementation stage, right? But with with increments. So because iterative, we call them increment in the software, but it's basically, it could be an iteration or an increment. So basically, you could have, it doesn't make sense to have one increment, but the choice is there. You can go from anywhere from one increment to, we have not set the limit on the number of increment. And that is, you can decide also when you are doing the project management plan later in the project. You decide on the number of increment. Step number 7 is about operation, and that's not implemented yet. We have not included question 7. And basically the reason we didn't implement it yet, because we believe most projects would have some kind of an operation. For example, what do we mean by operation? We mean at the end, once the product is complete, would there be some kind of an operation? For example, if it is a facility, yes, we need a hotel. Yeah, we need to operate the hotel. So that's operation. If it's software, we need to have end user. That's operation. Yeah, so we use the word operation to mean that basically there is some work. So we believe that rarely where you have a project that deliver a product that doesn't require operation. So at this stage, the default is that all project method would include an operation stage except the micro project. And the reason we didn't do that, because if there is anything has to do with operation, we probably lump it into what we call the delivery stage at that time. So an example, this is, you've been seeing the screenshot. So like, for example, in this case, we selected the capital intensive, we selected oil and gas, we selected medium moderate project, we selected the big bang development, and we decided that this will be a two-stage project. And once we have all the questions answered, you can, obviously, if you feel like you made a mistake, you can reset. Or if you're happy with what you've selected, you can say get tailored. And when you get tailored, you're going to get something like this. It shows you a description of the method. So for example, in this case, we selected a generic project, general category. So this is this is not an output of the previous screen. This is just a screenshot. In this screenshot, we said we have selected a general project, sector, medium to moderate complexity project, big bang development with 2 stages, and include operation. That's what I mean. I know most of these titles might not mean much to you. As you get used to them, you will understand them. But so we provide a description here. So the domain is the sector is general project, domain is generic. There is no category we use here. The development is selected. The classification is defined here, and it said the version is with operation, and a short description. Obviously, when you get this, you can click on the PLC, preview the PLC, and you will see a screenshot of you'll see how would your project lifecycle look like, right? And of course, if you're not happy, you can go back and modify because you are still at the selection process. In this slide, I'm just sharing an example, 2 examples of what the life cycle would look like. And what you will notice is a lot of similarities, because we believe whether you use waterfall or, I know I said that that word, I shouldn't be saying that, a traditional or big bang or iterative or incremental or hybrid, whatever you want to use, a reality project management method are hybrid. They basically include some kind of an iterative sequential process through the stages. As you can see here, we have a concept stage, we have a feasibility stage. So you notice they are almost identical. The only difference here is that the implementation stage, here you see a straight line, over here you see that symbol, which means this is basically an indicator that this is an iterative incremental process. Right now, I'm showing on purpose these two screenshot to look like because what we are trying to emphasize here, the point is that whether you use big bang or iterative incremental, the first few stages of the project are identical, right? And whether you use IID or BBD, you still have to have operation readiness. You have to have initial operation. The only difference, and that's what we keep debating online sometimes with people, said you have to choose one or the two, right? Is that a project management method, there is only one way to manage project, having a project life cycle that is tailored to your project. And the main difference usually is an implementation. There are other differences, of course. Now, this is an example of, again, it's only an example of a PLC. Other examples, some project, for example, our micro project have only 4 stages. This one have 9 stages, right? You can have 7 stages. You can have 5 stages. That's the idea of tailoring, right? That's the idea of tailoring. And again, these are only examples. So what do we have today? Obviously, if you go through the tailored method process, what you don't see behind the scene is that you can follow the same concept here visually. Obviously, we have the platform. We have 3 sectors right now that are active in the system. You have these domain available. And for these domain, each domain have the number of classes. For example, in software project right now, we have 4 project classes. In oil and gas, we're using 3 classes. Real estate, same thing. And then how many tailored method overall. What you do not see behind my image is that the total number here is that there are 49 tailored method. However, we have to stress most of these are the first iteration of these tailored method, which means the project life cycle for this method is developed. We have not gone to a deeper level. We are at this time leaving that to client to decide what they want to do at a deeper level. And as we start to collect feedback from our clients and our reviewers and testers and advisors and board, we would be able to start adding going down within each tailored method to start to add maybe some highly specific section, because each tailored method have the whole workflow. All these stages that I shared with you, for example, 9 stages, every stage have a stage deliverable, which means what is the output of that stage. We have that built into the platform. We have built the template for these things. So with every tailored method, there are section work packages that need to be completed. And then we have stage gates, right? All of that, the workflow, the template, the forms are built into the platform, right? For each tailored method. And with every tailored method, we will be modifying this. So what we have done right now, we have not gone down to that level where we start to tailor those stage deliverable. However, the good news is you can do it yourself. Because, for example, if you go to our project feasibility, we have depend on some method, you will have a feasibility study report. And you need to conduct a feasibility study. The standard model have 14 items in there. You can go in there, and some of those items do not apply. You just can say not applicable, and you skip it. You don't have to do it, right? So in a way, we are providing you with many sections, and although some of them may not apply to you. Well, what happened if the opposite, right? What happened if there is something that you need but is not there? Well, and at the end, in the same screen with every deliverable, at the bottom, you have the ability to add a block. So you can add information. You can add a section. Say, on this project, I wanted to talk about logistics. Yeah, the feasibility study of Uruk does not include logistics in it. We want to add that. Fine, you can go and add that as a box, and then and as a box in the platform. That means there is another you've just added to yourself a work package that you have to work on. You can also add attachment, right? I'm not going to do a demo of the system today, but basically we wanted to do this as a step like that, as a presentation, because it's very important to highlight. So this is not only a pure software tutorial. I personally do not like too much software tutorial because most users are intelligent enough to figure it out themselves. What's important here is to understand the principle and the concept and how behind this extremely vital concept of tailored, customized method. With this, I say thank you, and we would like to invite you. You can join. You can go on our website and register, so you will be added to our marketing database. So you will be receiving email from us. We are not one of those companies who bombard you with email. At most, we usually send 1 email a week. At most, sometime once every 2 weeks. Rarely where we send more than 1 email a week. Right? So it's not something we will bombard you. If you're interested in Uruk project management in the Uruk platform, that is a very important place we can start. If you want to try the platform, you can go in and sign up to the individual account that is available when you sign up, and then play with it. There is a tutorial, not a tutorial, there is a trial plan. You can go in, and there are many files and documents included in the platform that you can access. And at the end, we are as a startup, and developing something as magnificent as the Uruk platform require a lot of money. We have invested a lot from our own pocket. I personally have invested many years into this, and a lot of my personal money, and we have a lot of other investors. As of today, we have about 64 investors investing anywhere from $100 to $120,000. Other than myself, right? I invested more, but most the range right now. Many investors invested 1, 2, 3,000, 5,000, 15,000, 20,000. We have raised quite a bit before to get us to this point. However, we need, in order to be able to go to market strongly and to continue developing this magnificent solution again, we need the support of our community, and we need you to consider investing. And this is not a donation. This is not something that is a reward based. It's equity based. So you can go in and invest through our from the link we share here. You will find a link to the crowdfunding campaign that we have open and active today, and soon we will be starting another in parallel, a campaign or a direct effort to reach out to angel and accredited investors. So if you are a part of the general public that you are not classified as accredited investor, you can go through the WeFunder campaign and invest there anywhere from $100 to $100,000. But if you are accredited investors per the US classification system, you will be able to invest directly with us. Thank you. And this will be one of the first presentation. We will be producing many more presentations like this. They will be shorter, more focused to the topic, and we will also start producing demo of the platform itself. And the demo would be much faster because they are more about showing how the system works. We are grateful to your time, and we wish you success today, tomorrow, and always. Munir Ajam with Uruk Project Management.